Hello, everybody. Hello, Buckeye Nation. How's it going out there? Dr. Corey in the house, the pretend doctor on YouTube, on the OHIO podcast channel, network, however you want to describe it. Appreciate you for being here. We're going to talk about something today that, quite frankly, Allen Iverson took a lot of offense to. We're talking about practice. Practice? We're talking about practice. Ohio State starts spring practice today. Wow. As I'm recording this on Monday, March 17th. And let's be honest, after that lousy basketball ending, that season ending, the basketball team we had some high hopes for early in the year. We're happy to be back, right back into where we belong, which is football camp. And we're right now we're the fans, we're the nation of the Buckeyes. The defending national champions. You may have heard of them because Michigan and Oregon and Tennessee fans can't stop talking about them. If you haven't heard about them from Ohio State themselves, but anyway, we're going to talk about today 5 things that you may not have been necessarily looking into as we go into spring practice. I want to talk about today. There's 5 specific things that I think that we need to watch for, but I'll give you one more honorary thing that has nothing to do with on the field, but more what to watch for off the field. If you stay tuned for that, um, we're going to talk about again spring practice. Interesting times for Ohio State right now because there's so many questions to answer. Right, you could talk about 3 million different things. I think in this instance, but there's like 5 things I'm really looking forward to, and one of them involves Julian Sayin. Of course, you're probably saying to yourself, "Well, of course, Julian Sayin, who's going to be the starting quarterback?" I'm going to spoiler alert that one right now. Julian Sayin is the guy. He's going to be the guy. I know some are going to hold out hopes for Lincoln Keenholz to make a run, or maybe Tavian St. Clair to give him a run for his money, but it's going to be Julian Sayin. There's not really a scenario in either case. It's going to push Julian Sayin to the point where he is under any threat of losing his job. But what I want to talk about with Julian Sayin is he is the new quarterback, obviously, but uh, do we think Ohio State will be more of a pass first team with Sayin, or will they continue to be more of a bounce approach, or will they lean heavily on the run? It'll be kind of interesting to see as we move forward how the offense adapts to Julian Sayin going forward in the spring, because we're going to get some clues in the spring, but we're not going to know for sure, obviously. But you know, his quick decision making, his accuracy. I mean, he could reshape Ohio State's offensive strategy. In fact, from the highlights we're seeing from the media so far, the quick release is just something scouts are already drooling about. It's pretty amazing that a 19, 20-year-old kid has that uh, big of a mechanical skill set so far in his career already. But will he lean more into RPOs and spread concepts or a quicker passing game because he's a young quarterback? But even though he's one of his strengths is his high IQ, but again, he doesn't have a lot of experience the college game. So what we're going to watch for during spring practices, are they tailoring the offense around his Saying strengths, or what do they? I mean, are we going to see a much different offense going forward? With Julian Sayin. I mean, does he figure to be more of a CJ Stroud? He's obviously not Will Howard necessarily. You know what I always liken it to? I liken it to the idea that if Joe Burrow had never left, and he's even wearing that number 10 that Joe Burrow wore at Ohio State, which was interesting because Joe Burrow changed the number 9 at LSU. We kind of thought he was going to, Julian Sayin in the offseason was going to change the number 9, but that's going to be Tavian St. Clair's number. He stuck with number 10. Maybe he could redeem that number at the quarterback level for Ohio State. I mean, I think last time I remember anybody wearing it was Tom Hoying. Troy Smith obviously redeemed it from Art Schlichter. So, um, yeah, you know what? Maybe he could just continue the nice tradition there after Troy Smith obviously redeemed that number at Ohio State. Also, we need to look into what's going to happen with the leadership void. I mean, we had some great vocal leaders last year. Jack Sawyer comes to mind. Emeka Igbuka comes to mind. JT Tuimoloau. I can't ever say his name. You have to forgive me on that one. But there's some obvious leaders last year. Who are going to be the vocal guys this year? Who steps up to be the leader this year? Is the number 2 thing I'm looking for. Will we see it early on in spring? And that's vitally important when we get into those games like against Texas first week, and who can calm the team down, who can be that guy that everybody looks at and says they're going to keep us from losing this game. Normally, you go to the quarterback with that. Maybe Julian can become that guy, but as a true sophomore, I just don't know if the team will look to him in that way yet. I mean, it's hard to be a vocal leader at 20 years old of the Ohio State University, the reigning national champions. So, um, Are we going to rely on more experienced guys? Is C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia, with his experience, going to step up and be a quiet leader for this team that we need? Look at it that way. Jeremiah Smith, is he ready to take that step to be the leader? I mean, he's already the one of the best players on the team, if not the best player on the team. Him and Caleb Downs is another guy. Now he's a veteran now. I mean, he was a sophomore last year, but now he's a junior this year. He's a national champion. Is he that guy who steps up and becomes that leader? It'll be interesting to see because when the benefits of having all those guys come back last year is we had Trevion Henderson, by the way, another one, Quinshawn Judkins, another one, seasoned guys that can be leaders all throughout the team, and you can't just have one guy, you know, in the locker room. You got to have 8, 10, 12 guys that, even if they're not voted captains, they're got to be guys that the team looks up to. Sonny Styles is another one who's a big time candidate for the Block O candidate. Will he become a leader in that locker room? It'll be interesting to see who steps up, who we see is reported as the most vocal. Who do we see in practice film that's most vocal? If we even get a chance to see that, be interesting to see interviews and what coaches are saying, who's stepping up to be that leadership role. But really, you won't know it until the games this year, and you see it in hard times. But that being said, we'll start to get glimpses of it going forward in the spring and in the spring ball, and it'd be interesting, by the way. And it doesn't just figure though for the regular season, even though that's when we'll see it. I mean, this is where it starts. This is where a championship run starts. And look, I'm under no illusion that we don't have a massive hill to climb to try to repeat. It's massive. We have so many question marks everywhere, but the leadership on this team that steps up right now will set the tone for going into fall camp, summer workouts, fall camp, and then ultimately into the season. So comment below. Tell me what players do you see are going to become leaders in this or in this team now? Now that we have so many people departing, going in the NFL, and so many great leaders going in the NFL, including a transfer in Will Howard. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. Let's look number 3 here. Let's look at surprising positions and changes and role shifts. We already know about CJ Hicks going to the edge. We saw him practicing on the edge. He's been clamoring to go on the edge for how long now? It actually makes a lot of sense that he wants to play off the edge. But here's the thing: is he going to play a true defensive end? Matt Patricia's run the 3-4 in the past. We have some personnel that can do it. CJ coming off the edge as maybe a stand-up defensive end, stand-up linebacker. Is that the role they see him in? Because with Matt Patricia here, we all know Larry Johnson doesn't like necessarily to go away from the 4-man front. So it'll be, what are they going to are they going to train him as Caden Curry's backup? Maybe. Um, it'll be interesting to see. But is there any other? What are they going to do with safety now? Do they switch some guys to safety? I don't think we don't know for sure yet what's happening. It's we see the initial roster come out, and like Demarius Witten is technically listed as a tight end who's playing at wide receiver. So we don't even know there's anything set in stone yet for a lot of these guys. But are they going to start looking at what goes on, where people can play, and what people can do, where they can contribute? Who's that next safety to Caleb Downs? And then who is it? Is it somebody like they think is already on the roster, like a Jalen McClain or Malik Hartford, or do they say, Igbenogson? We want to get the once your experience back there, maybe you can play that safety position because you're an aggressive player, and you can help us cover the tight ends with your physicality. And then we put Devin Sanchez, a true freshman, out on the field a lot more because maybe he has a promising showing early on. He's already got the physical look of it. It's just interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. This is where they can play with their chess pieces a little bit and see where they want to do. What do they want to line people up, and they can experiment and test things right now. This is basically their preseason, so it'll be a little bit interesting to see if there's anything that as they shift things around. The offensive line's a big thing where they shift things around typically every spring. It's like all of a sudden, Philip Daniels comes in and you figure he's going to be the starting right tackle, or at least compete for the starting right tackle job against Ian Moore. And all of a sudden, Philip Daniels is playing center for some reason or something along those lines throughout the past. It's been a little bit interesting to see how they change alignments and they change how from what they change from what is expected. They don't just necessarily do it to set it in stone. They just do it to test things out. And what better time to do it than in spring ball? Um, so how will the staff look at the young talent, but a massive amount of talent on this team, and how they maximize that talent? How they going to address some depth issues, such as like defensive tackle and things like that? Um, you know, in which position change might be the most surprising or exciting to see during spring ball? In fact, comment below. Tell me what you think about CJ Hicks being a defensive end now. I mean, I know a lot of people. He's got a lot of fans out there have been wanting to see him on the on the field a lot more, and it hasn't worked out for him at linebacker. Will it work for him at defensive end? You make the call. Say you're the coach right now. You tell me. Number 4, adjusting the defensive scheme. Man, I am so interested to see what Matt Patricia does during the spring ball. This is where we start it. It's not where it finishes, it's not where it ends, but this is where we begin to install, where we begin to look at what we can do defensively. Um, yeah, how's it going to evolve under Matt Patricia from Jim Knowles' departure? Will they continue with a safety-driven system? Are they going to go more traditional Big Ten style defense? They're going to go more multiple set because where Patricia's more of a 3-4 multiple set, he'll adapt. I mean, what do we do here? Is what is going to be curious with the personnel we have. We're a little thin at defensive tackle outside of Caden McDonald and Edric Houston. Taiwan Malone's there. We got a little bit of depth there, but not a crazy amount like we've had in the past. Defensive end, defensive line is like top heavy more than anything. I mean, when CJ Hicks can step right in and possibly beat in too deep right away at defensive end, you know your defensive line is a little bit thin. Some names on there. There's going to have to be guys that make names for themselves, and that'll be a little bit interesting going forward to see how that transpires. But obviously, guys like Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson, Edric Houston, and Caden McDonald figure to be the starters. But where do they go from there? How do they figure that? Okay, this is our top heavy D line. How do we maximize it in a defensive scheme? Safety was a strength last year with Downs and Nathan Ransom. Ransom's gone. Caleb's still a superstar, but who fills the gap next to him? It's an extremely important role in our defense. Our secondary looks to be pretty solid at corner with Ignoson, and now he can drive you nuts sometimes, but he's experienced. And Jermaine Matthews has shown a lot of promise. They have young guys like Aaron Scott, Bryce West who look good. Lorenzo Styles is a veteran at this point, who's been around a lot and seen a lot. He's actually worked from the other side of the ball. Be a lot interesting to, and of course Devin Sanchez, who's going to see the field. Let's be real. He's the Jeremiah Smith of the defense. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. Will they go man press? Will they figure, okay, we need to be more cover 3 this year? Matt Patricia is not known as a guy who blitzes very often. So, is he see this team with all the speed on defense and say, hey, we can get to the quarterback with Sonny Styles and guys like that. Arbrell Reese changing his number to number 8. Is he going to be that typical Mike linebacker for Ohio State? How does it fit in the role of what the new defense will look like under Matt Patricia? So it'll all be a little bit interesting. That brings me to step 5. Step 5 is the offensive line development is a big one to me. Um, Justin Fry is gone. I apologize for that. Justin Fry is gone, and it's going to be a little bit interesting to see. Is Tyler Bowen the developer? I mean, he's the recruiter. He's already got a great one in Max Riley, and it looks like Sam Greer. They're working on him right now, and so it's going to be a little bit interesting to see if Tyler Bowen is a developer or the guys they got, like Charles Dickey, are they going to be training the guy? Are they going to be training the offense line more so than what Tyler Bowen is? He's more fixated on the run game. He's more fixated on recruiting. So it'll be a little interesting, the dynamic there. It's going to be an evolution this year because it's going to be quite different looking for. I mean, the interior looks pretty much the same. Carson Hinsman will figures to be the starting center, but do they move him to guard because Josh Padilla is ready to go, and they figured Hinsman is maybe better at guard than he is at center. Obviously Ethan Unwanya figures to be. If I'm saying his name wrong, I apologize. Figures to be the left tackle. Philip Daniels, Ian Moore will be battling for that right tackle position. Philip Daniels is not so experienced that Ian Moore can't beat him out, and they like Ian Moore a lot. Who are the 3 guys in the middle? Padilla, does he get in there, and is he able to solidify a starting spot at center and move Hinsman over, or does Hinsman keep that center spot? And then you have Tegra, Austin Severald, and Luke Montgomery all battling for those positions. The good news is they're all developed. I mean, they're not totally developed, but they're all experienced. So it's not like we're dealing with a lot of inexperience in the middle of the line. So that figures to be a decent strength. But then there's a 2 deep. The Armstrong twins seem to be making a move to be in that 2 deep, especially I think it's Devontae. I apologize if I got the wrong one at left tackle, and that concerns me a little bit. What's going to be the weight training regimen for these guys? They're going to be a little bit bigger this time to work on short yardage situations. I mean, that also figures into the scheme, obviously. What's going to reveal about the improvement in the depth issues? of offensive line, because I think that there's been a huge depth issue for the offensive line for years now. But they finally start to seem to be able to have some names there to at least show promise, as whereas in the past where it's like, well, I don't know what we're doing at left tackle after after such and such a guy gets hurt. But who do you think will step up and solidify Ohio State's offensive line this season? That's something I want you to ask yourself, and comment below, and maybe you got a better answer than I do, but I don't know what to think with the offensive line coaching arrangement right now. It seemed like Justin Fry got a little help from Chip Kelly, maybe got a little help from Keenan Bailey. Ryan Day, obviously offensive guru, but I mean, it's like Justin Fry was working in a coalition to get that offensive line, but you have to anyway because everything depends on the offensive line. But they got not graduate assistants, but they got analysts coming out the wazoo now that specifically deal with offensive line development. So they understand the importance of the situation. They understand what they have to do here. So it'll be interesting to see who's actually running the drills, who's actually doing we're in charge of development. Does it free up Tyler Bowen to focus on the run game more? So it'll be a little bit interesting to see. One bonus thing I'm going to give you is be careful what you read in the media, because every flipping year they overhype people, they overstate things, they draw conclusions that don't make any sense. It drives me up a wall. It's part of the reason why I don't really have any subscriptions anywhere, and I don't really talk to a lot of media members, because it's always just like, this guy so and so is just tearing it up. He's flying to the ball, that he never sees the field. They've been saying that's been C.J. Hicks' story proverbially for the last couple of years. And of course, Bam Childers is the old timer. It is all this is his year. He's going to be a superstar and never sees the field. Um, and then, of course, what happens is you allow yourself to be built up in the hype about certain players, and then of course, the interesting dichotomy here is people will complain about the Buckeye beat, but then trust them completely to vindicate their own biases about certain players. Like the C.J. Hicks crowd has always kind of made me laugh a little bit, because it's Ryan Day's unwillingness to play younger players or something is why CJ can't get on the field. It's like maybe CJ just has had a further to go than what you thought when we recruited him. It couldn't be that. It couldn't possibly be that. So it's a little bit different to to say the least, because it's just gotten to the point where I just kind of comically make fun of the Buckeye beat every year when they're like, "Oh man, Tavian St. Clair, this is going to be a big one. You know it's coming." Tavian St. Clair, he's really pushing Julian Sayin. It's like, what, he had a couple good practices. I promise you, he's not going to play. And I see it on Twitter, like Buckeye fans like to run with it. All of a sudden, oh man, I don't know that Julian's going to be the guy, guys. Tavian had a great, It's like, okay, calm down. Julian's the guy. Tavian's got a bright future. He's going to be a great player for Ohio State. It's just going to take time, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And then of course you got to, just just I'll put it this way: don't get too highs with the highs, too lows with the lows. If you hear somebody's doing bad, don't necessarily think too much of it. Think somebody's doing too high, don't think too much of it. Wait to see how it plays out in the game. But for now, it is fun fodder. I'll give you that. It is fun to read about something, because we need anything football related after winning the national championship a couple months ago now. And we just want to get to football. And then after the spring showcase is over with, we get to wait another long few months till we get to the season and that first banger of a game against Texas. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you all for tuning in here at the Buckeye Therapy. Dr. Corey, Pretend Doctor on YouTube, here on the OHIO podcast here on YouTube. Appreciate you guys as always. Smash, as the Potter would say, that like button. Comment anything you've seen here that you want to comment on, like the specific questions of the position changes. What do you think is going to happen with the defensive alignment with Matt Patricia? Do you trust Matt Patricia to even make these decisions? That's another thing, because I don't think Buckeye Nation's necessarily fully on board with him yet, but we'll see. But we just have to wait and see. He's the guy. Seems like he's getting along with the players, and he's a little rejuvenated by it, which is nice to see. So anyway, guys, and if you like what you see, share this with a friend. Share this channel with one of your friends in Buckeye and a fellow Buckeye fan in Buckeye Nation. We appreciate you guys as always. Goodbye, and God bless.